New at 5, DESE members have approved regulations that will replace MCAS as a graduation requirement. Public schools here in the Bay State are required to meet both a competency determination and a local requirement in order to graduate from high school. Back in November, voters approved a ballot question that now prohibits the passing of math, English, and science, MCAS, as a competency determination. Today, officials voted that the graduating class of 2026 will need to complete coursework equivalent to 2 years of high school English language arts courses, 1 year of both Algebra 1 and Geometry courses, or the equivalent of 1 year of both Integrated Math 1 and Integrated Math 2 courses, 1 year of biology, physics, chemistry, technology, or engineering course. Starting with the class of 2027, students will also need to complete 1 year of an equivalent U.S. history course.